So we can switch to English.
Yes, we can switch to English.
Yeah, because I've noticed that I have some problems when I speak in Russian, and then I'm trying to switch to English, and I forget all the words in English. All grammar construction just flew away from my head. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's a normal thing.
yeah, I believe you don't have such a problem. Or
I wouldn't say that I have this problem with English right now or with Russian. With Russian, I actually have the problem right now because I don't really speak it every day. So I'm very happy when I can talk to people in Russian and practice my wittiness in Russian, because the basic language you can always speak with your family or like friends, but then when you want to express more complicated thoughts in Russian, then I feel like I haven't been reading enough in the last 5 years, and every day I only speak English with my boyfriend, or like Estonian and English, and there is just no room for Russian at some point. So
wow.
I'm feeling pretty happy when I can like talk to you in Russian, because I feel like, wow, I have so much to say and I still can say it. And
Wow.
yeah, but I have that with Swedish or Estonian. So when I have to switch to a language that I don't use every day, then I got mixed up in my head. But also, like you said before, grammar constructions and all these kind of things.
Wow. It's I think it's pretty unusual because like I thought that there is your native language, which is Russian in your case. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like I have this confidence in Russian, and when I want to talk about difficult things, about politics, science, not much science, but still I know terms, I have vocabulary for it, and when I want to talk about the same things in English, I'm just stuck because this you don't need this vocabulary in your everyday life, and you have it just in Russian, not in English or in Swedish also. Yeah.
Yeah, according to research, you need 3,000 word families to be able to converse in English about everyday topics. But
3,000
word families. So it's like,
what is it?
Like, let's say you have a word and you have all the word formation that comes from the word. Like I say the word, I don't know which one, illusion, and then is it the same word? No, it's a bad example. Then you say confident, and then you say unconfident, and then confidence. So whatever you can form from this word, it's a word family. So you need to know 3,000 word families to converse in a basic level, or to understand at least 95% from what you listen. But yeah, for academic and for more difficult conversation, it's around 10,000, 9,000 word families. So it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So you feel like you're more confident in English now than in Russian?
I think it depends on a day. It really depends on a day. Sometimes I feel like it's not a good day for English, or for any language. It can just, like you wake up and you feel that it's really difficult to express anything. And sometimes I feel good in Russian because I have spoken to someone like you. Like when I go to the Swedish course and I meet you and we speak Russian, I feel like, wow, yeah, I still speak that language. That's great. Or when I talk to my mom or anybody else, and then but then in English, I just kind of have to leave. So because I have to teach it. I use it with my partner and with in general in Sweden.
So you think on English mostly, or it depends?
I would say it depends on the situation. Yeah.
Wow. And how long do you experience this in your head? Can you remember this moment when you switched to this English? Like English is your almost mother language.
I wouldn't say that it's my mother tongue, because I mean it's not. I just have experience speaking it for many years now, and for the last 3. How long am I dating Josep? 2.5 years. I speak it on like at home on a daily basis, because before, when I was living alone, I wouldn't speak to myself in English, or I wouldn't use it in like a in any case. But yeah, for the last 2.5 years, I use it completely in a communicative situations with my partner, and then with my students. And yeah, but before that, it was also, I had Estonian period of my life when I was learning Estonian, and I was trying to speak Estonian to people. And I think, yeah, I studied in the university in Estonian, so it was a really tough time when I had to, when I kind of also started thinking at some point about things in Estonian, because I had to, because I had to teach at school, so I had to use it somehow to like accompany my teaching. Yeah, but I wouldn't say that I have like one specific language that I'm thinking in, and it's not really the case for me, because I can think in Russian, I can think in English, I can think in Estonian, and it really depends on the situation. So, like, if I have a conversation with Josip in Estonian, then I'm thinking about things that surrounding me in Estonian, or when I'm having things that I have to express in English, or like when I'm preparing my lessons in English, then I kind of have to think in English, because it's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. For me, it's very unusual case.
Do you have like specific language you're thinking in?
In Russian.
In Russian?
Yeah, maybe after a long week in SFE, I'm starting to think in Swedish, or when I have a lot of conversation on English, I also can think on English, or after the lesson, English lesson, I can think English. So yeah, it depends, but mostly it's Russian, of course, because it's home language. I think it's this core of your thinking, like this language that you speak at home, you think on this language also.
Yeah, that's probably a case. But if you have two languages that you speak at home, it can also like depend, because I wanted to say something and I forgot. Okay, whatever.
Okay, whatever. So we can start with introductions. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Imposters podcast. My guest today is Anna Fomina. We met with Anna in Swedish courses, I think, in April. Yeah.
I started. Yeah, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I started this course at on 29th of April, actually. So this is the day we met. You can put it in your calendar.
Yeah. So Anna is an English teacher. Her profession is English teacher, but she also can teach Russian.
Yeah, I actually I can teach social studies, Russian and English. So this is what my education is about. Because by the way, before we start, I wanted to thank you for having me today, for inviting to your beautiful podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm an English teacher, and this is probably most that I do the most. So and I have the most experience in it. Yeah. I would love to start teaching Russian as well on a regular basis, but I've been only trying to do it at schools when I had my internships. So
Yeah.
I identify more as an English teacher.
Okay. So today I wanted to talk about English education in Russia mostly, because I think it's quite confusing for us to tell stories that in Russia it's not really a good education. English education is not really good, but it it depends on the city, on the school, on teacher, on lots of things. But I think most cases, because we have a good, like a huge amount of teachers, English teachers, who do these things that you do,
Like
this
online teaching. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means that schools and university education not so good to speak English freely after this free education program.
Yeah, which makes a lot of demand on this online teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your relationship with English? How it started?
I will comment quickly on what you said before about teachers and cities. I agree with that point. I think it really depends on the city, and like the bigger the city is, probably the best chances you have in getting better education. But in my case, it was also a teacher. I would say that I had a good teacher. I would say that I had two good teachers at some point that boosted me in my education, and I had a lot of bad teachers. I hope they would never hear me saying that, but they were like from this reels. We have a lot of reels right now about life in Russia, and there are specific. I would even call it like it's nostalgic style of reels. Have you seen it? Like when in reels right now, a lot of people are filming the way of life was like 20 years before, 20 years ago, like 2000s, and there's also like teachers reels when they're showing different types of teachers. Have you seen reels like that?
I've seen like sketches.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
example, I don't know, Eastern European mom on Saturday's morning, and she's like doing this cleaning work and very noisy, and something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, but I was watching this specific type of reels with teachers because as a teacher, I really like looking at what people do, how people perceive different teachers. So I would say that in my case, I had a lot of these teachers that are also portrayed in these reels. There are like two funny things about English teachers in Russia from my generation is that this English teacher is constantly pregnant, and right, and she's constantly pregnant. This English teacher, she's pregnant all the time, and that's why she's not teaching you anything. And then there is this like kind of cool English teacher who is like dressed up in a really cool clothes, and she's coming to a lesson and talking about her life. So this is the second. I had both of them. And the second type was combining pregnant and cool. So she was pregnant and cool, and it was in primary school until I met my best English teacher. So yeah, but I think with my situation, my mom, she grew up in a bilingual, not family but environment. So she grew up in Estonia, and she was living in a Russian family, but she studied languages at school. So she studied, I think, German, but also it was Estonian. So I think it comes from my mom because she was exposed to learning languages when she was young, and then when she was still not having me, I think she went to the courses to study English, and she also spoke Estonian and Russian. And I think when she was growing me, she kind of gave me that idea that you need to learn languages. And so was my dad. He was also always telling me you need to learn languages. It's probably one of the phrases he would constantly repeat when I had like meetings with him, because my parents are not together. So I had to meet my dad at some point, and he was always like, yeah, you need to learn languages. You need to learn English. You need to do that. You need to do this. And he was always telling like some inspiring stories of his friends who would speak the language, and they would go somewhere and they used it. And I was always like inspired. So it was one thing. So I was really little, and I think my mom already started learning or was teaching me English with like some little books and some easy like flashcards. I remember the alphabet she was studying with me. And then it was like always at school that you have to learn English. And then we had a chance to choose the like the class or like orientation, sort of like the major, because I studied in Lyceum. It was in not far from St. Petersburg, and we had like major classes with majors. So we had like physics and mathematics classes, and then I was in English and IT class. So it just meant that we have a lot of English and IT lessons, ICT, and then
what a mix.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah, and then we had biology in another class as another major, biology and chemistry, so like the sciences, science, and then there was a social studies class. Yeah, so that's why I think I was just exposed to a lot of English.
Yeah, your class sounds like a way to success, because IT and English is just now it's level up in society.
But yeah, I think actually it helped. It helped a lot, and I think my classmates, I haven't talked a lot to them, but I think they're pretty good in life. So even though they might not be using this IT knowledge or like English, but I think they're doing well.
Wow. So from which grade you started to learn English?
We started in the second grade, but it was like as I'm thinking about it right now, of course it was not the perfect way, because we studied like phonetics or transcription, and this is something that you do in the university. So the system was still a little bit outdated, because we were given like this phonological sounds to learn at home, and then the teacher would ask us what they mean and how do you pronounce them, or this is something that we had to do in the summer. So we didn't really speak. There was no communicative approach, which is really relevant right now. And I think it was until the fifth grade when we started having more English, but our teacher still wasn't very good. It was this type of teacher that just gives you a grammar exercise, this kind of approach. So we had like still outdated English. It was 2010 when I wasn't at fifth grade. And we had like the grammar book, and we studied different tenses, and we had to do exercises with like brackets, filling in the gaps, or changing the thing that is written in the bracket. And then for some holiday, like a winter holiday, we had to learn sentences by heart. I still remember the sentence that I learned, but by now I still remember it. Agriculture is an important sector in the economy of the country. I still remember the sentence that I learned during my winter holiday. When I was around like 20, I realized what the sentence meant, and I was like, why do I need it? Why did I need it at fifth grade? Why? Just tell me why.
Wow. But you were interested in English from the childhood before school?
I would say, yeah, I was generally interested in languages. I was really like a geek. I was trying to learn a lot by myself. And I was buying some books, and we didn't have, I'm speaking like a grandma right now, but we didn't have Duolingo back then. And so I was like trying to find some books on the internet. I remember I was trying to learn Spanish and French by myself. Then I was trying to learn Estonian by myself. It was difficult, so because I couldn't really understand what was happening there. My mom was always mocking me that I do some weird accent. No, she's doing weird accent and I'm not. Yeah, but it was just like you said before that the mother tongue is in the core. But for me, from the childhood, it was in the core that you need to learn languages. It was something like a program. You go girl.
Wow. Because when you were saying that your mom and dad always said to you to like you need to learn languages, and for me, when my dad or my mom said to me you need to do something, I never I never do it because I don't know this how to say it. You want
You would resist.
yeah
Resistance.
your parents. But you somehow your maybe because they speak also English and other languages that you can okay they speak so I will speak also.
No, my dad, he doesn't speak any language except Russian. And my mom is now on her way to like speaking better English because she's constantly on Duolingo. And I'm really proud of her because she's also going to start some course soon. But maybe my mom was more like an example because I knew that she spoke Estonian and I was always proud of her. And I was like, wow, because like Russia is still pretty monolingual country. You don't meet a lot of people who speak, maybe right now there are more people who speak English and can talk to you. But when I was growing up, it was still a monolingual society. And when I knew that, oh, my mom could speak like some language before, I was very proud of her. And maybe she was an example in that sense for me. Yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting question that you asked. Like, why didn't I resist? Maybe because I liked it. Maybe because I was just myself interested in it, like deep inside. Yeah, but it felt like my parents were they had an authority when they were telling me that, so I kind of went with it, and it helped.
Yeah, because maybe it's in my case it was because my grandma said to me you need to learn Tatarian, and I was just I'm not really interested in these languages. I don't know what was that. It's hard to reflect on previous on a childhood version of me now, but okay, maybe it will come to me later. So you were saying about your teachers. When did you meet your like this good one?
Yeah, I would say that I had two great teachers when I was growing up. So a lot of teachers that weren't really doing their job well, and then this two. And I think I was in the 9th grade actually, or no, it was ninth or 8th grade. So it was before this exam because I took the English exam in the 9th grade because we usually don't have to if you continue studying at school. But in my school, they recommended us to take another exam because we had like classes with majors. So in day 5 would want to go to the English class, then I would have to take English exam. So I was kind of preparing for this exam, and I had this like teacher who was like extracurricular teacher. So I went to her after school, and she was teaching me. And it was the first time when I met the teacher who was like positive, and she was very friendly. She was like, of course, way older than me, but she was very energetic, and she spoke English when we had a class with her, which was like, wow. they speak English to me. Because I remember in primary school, I was longing for my teacher to say something in English because I was so curious. How does the fuck the language sound? And I even said, "Can you say something?" At some point, I was like super little, and I really was curious. And she was like, she kind of said, "No, I'm not going to say it," or something like that. I kind of remember this feeling from her. Yeah, but this teacher, she was speaking English. She was very positive, and she was very excited about what she was doing, and she had a lot of different books that I haven't seen before, and they were like all new, nice books with exercises that were different from what I had before. Word formation. When I first was doing like word formation with her, my mind blew out absolutely, because I couldn't do anything. It was so difficult. And then I love doing word formation with my students, and my students hate me for that because I love word formation.
Sorry for interrupting,
No
but
worries.
word formation, it's just how word forms to
it's like
noun, verbs, or
yeah. So when you use like instruments like suffixes and prefixes and affixes, so that you can form a new word. I was crying when I was doing these exercises with her, but this is actually what brings you to 3,000 word families or 5,000 word families. And then my students now are suffering with that. And I'm like, yeah, I know what you feel, but it's really good for you. So, and it was my extracurricular teacher, and she was also like super excited about like going somewhere. But I think there was some conflict, and my mom told me to stop like having like lessons with her. I don't remember what it was. I think she offered some exchange, and my parents didn't approve of it, and I don't remember what exactly happened. But I stopped having lessons with her, and then at school, I had a very, very strong teacher. It was very interesting. She was quite authoritarian teacher.
What does it mean? Sorry.
Авторитарный. Yeah, authoritarian teacher, and she was pretty strict, and she really wanted us to do the way she wanted. And so I was doing everything like she wanted, and it kind of helped me. So it was this kind of thing. So she was doing things really well. She was demanding. She was testing us a lot, and a lot of people think that tests are just stressful, but they actually really help when you're constantly tested on your vocabulary and you're trying to memorize. Even in that context, just trying to memorize something. We always had to write a lot of sentences with the words that we learned. So it was always testing, writing sentences, speaking as well. She was pretty rude sometimes. She could also like lose her temper. So she would be a little bit unpleasant person, but I think she was a great teacher for me. So this is very interesting combination, right?
Yeah, it is, because like when you grew up, you feel like, okay, teacher should be like a liberal, should be interested in students, and then you met other teacher like you described, and you just, oh, it's really good technique.
It worked well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did she speak English with you?
Yeah, she was always speaking English. She completely conducted all the lessons in English, and she was like giving us tools. Oh, she was using this dictionary called Multitran. She was like, "You should check it in Multitran." It was our favorite thing. Yeah, I don't use this dictionary anymore, but for a long time I was using it because it was a interesting dictionary. It wasn't just a Google Translate. It was also giving you a lot of different contexts and options. Yeah. So yeah.
Is it online translator?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not using that anymore. Not also with my students.
Yeah, because I remember that in my English classes, it was only paper one dictionary.
No, I would say it's a bit outdated right now.
Yeah, I think so. It's so inconvenient.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And I also, we had a teacher who she didn't speak English in classes mostly, but she did one thing. We She organized tours to Finland and Sweden, so we can, or and in Prague also, so that we can practice our knowledge, which we didn't have. But still, it was. I think it was her way to travel, actually, for free maybe, or for very little money, and but it was useful, I think,
Yeah.
and I remember it well. I remember how I was trying to ask some stuff on H&M in Finland about where is ATM, but we called it changer or something like that, and nobody understood us.
Where is the changer?
Yeah. They constantly showed us to the fitting room. Like,
Okay. Yeah, it's a very good place, yeah, to ask about the changer H&M.
yeah. So yeah, we had this type, and also we had this young teacher, young and pretty, and
pregnant.
yeah, she was pregnant after a few months. Yeah, and I don't know, she wasn't good in teaching, actually. Maybe because she didn't have enough experience for it. I don't know. But okay, you finished your school, and there is university. Why? Where did you go to? Which specialty? How to name this Spezialness?
Yeah, specialty, or like, I guess this
Yeah,
is what you call
okay.
it. I finished school and I went to Herzen State Pedagogical University in St. Petersburg, and it was a law faculty, so it was law, and it was like law and pedagogy. But back then, I didn't really know that it's going to be pedagogy as well, because I was convinced that I'm going to the law faculty and it's just going to be law. But then at some point we had like law, and then we went to court to have like internships, and then we went to camp to have a summer internship, and then we had like some psychology courses and pedagogy courses, and then we also went to school to have an internship. So it was like really something that is very, very integrated and quite unique. And a lot of people in my faculty wasn't happy about it, because the degree that we got in the end, it was in pedagogy. It was not law degree. So a lot of people who wanted to practice law, for example, they couldn't really do it because their degree was saying you're a teacher. But to be honest, it worked for me well, because I'm a teacher now, and I decided not to practice law in Russia for some reasons. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you wanted to ask about English, it was non-existent in the university.
Can you explain a little bit what
we had a course, but it didn't help. It didn't really do anything. So the teacher was also, it was already 2016 when I started uni, and the teacher was also giving us grammar exercises. But it was supposed to be like English for lawyers. And she was like, "Oh, just nah, absolutely not." So at that point, I had to try to do something myself with English. not to forget it, because after school I had really good English, and my friends who I studied at the school with, my classmates, they also had quite good English, like my close friends. So we really needed somehow to keep going, not to forget the language. And it was my greatest concern in the first year of university. I was so sad that the English was so bad. So I was trying always to do something. I didn't have a teacher as well. I don't know why. I haven't thought of having a teacher. But I was trying to listen to watch something. I was like chatting with people on Hello Talk, like all these weird things that I could have done. I was doing them.
Did you thought about work and travel program?
No, but on the second year of my university, I went on Erasmus program to Estonia, actually. So they offered us.
It's Estonian program.
Yeah? No, it was in 2018 when I went there, and it was like exchange. So I was going from my university to University of Tartu, which was in Narva College, and it was complicated. Anyways, I had a chance to have education there in English. So for semester, I went there, and I was so happy because I finally could speak English, and I was in an environment with people who spoke English to me, and it was actually a program about English education. So somehow from the law and from this teaching and psychology and blah, blah, blah things, I went for a semester in heaven for me. It was such a great choice. And we talked about education and how to teach languages. And this is when I was like, wow, I think that's something what I want to do.
Yeah. And when you were talking about a university teacher, I remember that when you do exams in school, it's quite difficult ones that you should have a lot of knowledge to go on high, I don't know, scores.
Like you mean a Russian national examination?
Yeah. So, and you go to university, and there they teach you like basics or just.
Yeah, it was basics. Yeah, it was basics, because also the group of people who were at the university at this English class, they didn't really have any level of English, but they were all over from Russia. So they were from different towns, from different regions in Russia. So all from everywhere. So very different levels of English. Some people had better, some people had worse. Yeah, we had to exist together.
And I was my school years was in Chelyabinsk, and it was quite okay to not travel to any country because it's expensive, and but I was thinking that as an English teacher, you you should visit some English speaking countries to teach. But I think we had only one teacher who traveled with us, and other ones didn't travel at all. And with your, I think for Saint Petersburg citizens, it's more affordable to travel abroad. And how was it in your experience?
You mean when I was at school?
Yeah, like your English teachers, they traveled. Okay, it's Swedish grammar now. Did they travel?
I don't know. I think they didn't really talk about it. So it's really hard to say. But I finished school not in St. Petersburg, by the way. I finished school in Gachina, so which is 40 kilometers from St. Petersburg. They are quite close to each other. It's a very small town, like 100,000 people. 90,000, 80,000. I don't remember anymore. I haven't been there for 3 years or something like that. Yeah. But our teachers didn't really speak about going anywhere. Like, I know that this last teacher that I mentioned, who was like strict and demanding, I think she was traveling, but she was also not like talking a lot about it.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you think as an English teacher in Russia? Do you need to have this experience in the English speaking country, living there, or just traveling there?
I mean, in a sense that will it be helpful for teaching? Probably yes. In that sense, you need it. I mean, I believe in that as a teacher, you need everything that is possible to experience, because when you are a teacher, you're not just giving the knowledge, you're giving the knowledge of the world and the perception of the world in your head. So the way you see this world, you give it to your students. So if you see a lot of things in the world, if you travel a lot, if you expose yourself to different cultures, to different people, you become more saturated with these experiences, and then you can give it to your students, and you can compare one thing with another, and your world becomes like not black and white, but very, very colorful and with different shades of different colors. And this is what you teach your students. But I mean, I haven't been to an English speaking country before 2021, and I was already teaching English, but of course I've traveled before. So first time I went to London, it was 2021. Of course it helped me afterwards. That I've been to a capital of Great Britain, and yeah, it's of course it's great that you can tell your students that I've been like to London to I was doing something there, I was speaking to some people, I met some people, because I was also solo traveling. I was solo traveling a lot, very dangerous for a little girl.
Yeah, it is. And in which way did it help you? Just like it gives you confidence that you was in London, you spoke.
Yeah, you kind of connect things that you hear about the culture and the language, and you put it in a picture together like a puzzle. But the pieces of the puzzle come together, because when you study the language, when you teach the language, you're not only again teaching the instrument of speaking, you're talking about the culture, like this kind of how are you small talk thing, and other things that are in the code of English speaking culture. And then you talk to people, and a lot of people say that people in UK are really friendly. And is it a stereotype or is it truth? So you go to England, and I had so many problems there, like with trains and stuff, and I really needed to communicate with people, and they were helpful, they were friendly. So check. You're like, people are friendly. And then this year we went to Scotland, and again, this is very common, like stereotype or statement about English people, that English or people from UK, that they are friendly and they are very talkative. And then you talk to people in Scotland, and they are very talkative. They are very friendly. They would love to help you with some. And check, yeah, that's true. This is what I've experienced. Yeah, so these pieces, they come together. Sorry.
Yeah. Talking about Scotland, is it difficult to understand their accent?
It was difficult sometimes, yeah. I actually talked about it with my student yesterday. My student was texting me because I sent her video, and she watched it, and she was like, oh yeah, it seems from your video that you didn't have any problems with Scottish accent. I was like, no, we had problems. Like, it was in Fort William when we finished the hike, and some people asked something in a very fake Scottish accent, and it was difficult. Yeah, we had to re-ask them, like, oh, sorry, what do you want? What are you asking us? Because you're not really adjusted to the way they speak.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand Swedish now when they speak with me, and it's almost never a happy ending because it's so difficult to understand them because they just, is it in English the same story that they just do it in one word instead of 3 or 4 words? Yeah. How do you feel about your Swedish? You didn't haven't spoke a lot, I think, in
No,
this vacation.
no, I haven't really. I was hoping that I will do something, but no, not really. Didn't really work for me. Speaking a lot of Swedish, but I have the same problem as you say. Like I can, like if I start the conversation, and like I can say something and then they answer something. Thanks God if I understand. But if they ask me some question, the conversation is exhausted because I don't understand anything. I have to like say sorry. Actually, my Swedish is not very good. Can we speak English? I'm so sorry. I'm so dumb. And then especially if you meet someone who speaks like the Skånska dialect.
Yeah.
This is going to be like a hell. I was listening a song in Skånska dialect yesterday, and I was like, "Is it Danish? What language is it?"
Yeah. Very funny because it's good when you can like catch one word from the sentence and maybe you understand what is it about, like in the grocery store about the bag, do you need a bag, and you heard only bag in Swedish. Yeah, but most cases it's pretty hard.
No, but there are many problems that can arise from like listening, because what we talk right now was listening skill. So you listen and you have problems identifying words because, as you said, that they flow in the same in one word. So that you don't see the pauses between words. You don't see you don't hear when the word is started and when the word has finished. So that's one problem. Can be a problem when you don't recognize the words that you know, which feels horrible because you know that you know these words, but you don't recognize them. And then you don't recognize the words you don't know, which is the next problem. And then it just too fast. And there's actually, I was reading an article a couple of days ago because I'm taking this course right now at Stockholm University, and they talked about these problems. So you have to like fix every problem with a specific way of listening to things. So like right now I'm focusing on that problem. I cannot identify words that I know. So I'll try and listen to everything that I know. And then I check myself. And then you have another focus when you're listening to another thing. So there are ways of working with it, but it's listening one of the most difficult skills in English or in any other language.
Yeah.
Because it's like do or die. You either hear it or not.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you something else. I think in Russia, it's very uncommon wish to be an English teacher or a teacher
a
in
teacher
school.
In general, I think it's.
Yeah, and how how did you decide to be a teacher?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah, I agree that Russia is probably not the best country for teachers because this profession is looked upon a little bit like when you say, "Oh, I'm a teacher," you're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." you have to deal with that because I remember, Jesus Christ, when I graduated from the uni in 2020. So I was off my bachelor's and I got this diploma that I'm a teacher, and I announced everyone that this is what I'm going to be. By the way, and I remember there was like a family friend, and we had a little party after I graduated, and he was a teacher before. He was like an old guy, like 50 maybe, not old, like older guy. And he was like, my condolences. I'm sorry that you graduated from this program. And I was so offended because I was like, this is what I'm breathing with. I love doing it. But again, answering that question, sorry for not answering your question directly. I'm constantly going and winding somewhere else. I had it when I was a child. I really wanted to be a teacher when I was a child. I probably everything that kind of was in my life brought me that way, that I want to be a teacher. I want to be helpful. I know how to explain difficult things, and I like finding ways of explaining difficult things. And I don't know, it was something that I was doing with my toys when I was 9, 10. I just had like lessons about imaginary things. I had like a little board at home, in my room, and I was just writing some random stuff, and this is how I was playing with myself and with my toys.
So it's just you couldn't be anyone else.
I think this is like deep inside somewhere. It's an unexplainable thing. It just brought me there, even though that I studied law, because my parents, my stepfather, he was a lawyer, and my mom is also doing things in this field right now. So I kind of like went that way, and still it brought me to teaching. Who would have thought? At some point, I was sure I'm going to be a lawyer.
So I think it's connected to my next question, because I think nowadays it's common to change your profession every, I don't know, 5 years, maybe. So when I was at school, I didn't know what I'm gonna do after school, and I went to not physical, like athletes university to be a dance teacher. After a year there, I decided to go in more journalistic way. After university, I decided to be a designer, and now I don't work maybe a year or something, and I still want to be a designer, but maybe in some other, I don't know, sphere. Yeah, and but you was like sure that you will be a teacher, and there weren't any, maybe what this lawyer thing was in your mind, that you can be a lawyer also, and your determination to be a teacher is very, how to say, inspiring, I think. But yeah, from my point of view, it's uncommon.
Yeah, I agree. But I've met just a lot of people from other countries that were also happy about being teachers, and I think it affected me, because I have really good friends from Germany that I met on Erasmus programs, and they were also teachers. And I was like, wow, yeah, they're also teachers, so cool. And people are teachers, it's fine. Because you also have this understanding, the Russian understanding, that it's not something you should do with your life, because it's better to be a lawyer, or it's better to be a doctor in a really good fancy hospital. And it's or like we have this also thing in our minds that it's better to have your business. You shouldn't work for someone else.
Yeah.
This is what I was also taught in my childhood, that you shouldn't work for someone else, which I ended up not doing. And in Sweden, actually, it's better to work on someone else. It's better to be employed.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Because I don't know if listeners would ask why. Because if you have your own business in Sweden, you pay a lot of taxes. It's really, really unpleasant thing to do. So that's why I cannot really continue my the way I'm teaching right now, like online thing. can't really do that anymore, because otherwise I have to pay a lot of taxes and I will just be left with nothing.
Have you counted them? How much should you pay?
40%, yeah.
40%, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, that's why I'm looking for employments right now in Sweden. Like I got one job at school, but it's not very stable, so that I'm looking for something else. But it's also like, again, if to compare the way teachers are perceived in Russia and in Sweden, it's very different. It's like heaven and earth. It's in Sweden, the profession is protected. You cannot just go there and become a teacher. No matter what, no matter how great you are in the subject. Or in Russia, you can just come to school with any degree and say, oh, I can teach physics, and they can take you because they have a shortage of physics teachers or English teachers. In Sweden, you can't do that. And I was reading like this threads on Facebook when people are saying, I have a teacher's license in Sweden and I can't find job because there are so many great teachers already in the system. So much competition. Yeah, and the teachers, they get really, really good money in Sweden. They earn more than average.
But it still sounds not really good job. Then you can't find a job here in Sweden, or you just need to be patient. Like
maybe.
Yeah, interesting.
As for the immigrant, it's also more difficult because there is always language barrier.
Yeah. But in Russian, I think last years, this online teaching is very successful now. Don't you think?
I don't know, because I stopped having clients from Russia. Like I had only one client in the last year, and that was it. So I started with online teaching in Russia, but then I moved to Estonia, and I mostly had clients from Estonia.
Yeah.
So can't really compare now. But in what sense is it more successful, this online teaching?
I mean, my English teacher, she has like us as groups, and also she is a psychologist, and she does online courses for English teachers. Like you have not only English courses, but also courses for English teachers. It means like
methodology, yeah.
Yeah, methodology. So I think it says something about this sphere, that it's how to say востребованный in English.
Demanding.
Demanding, yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
You're not sure about translation or about my statement?
I have this. No. I'm sure. I'm sure about your statement. I just have a brain fog today, and when you ask me about some words, I feel really insecure for some reason. I'll just quickly check. Yeah, not demanding, in demand.
In demand.
Yes.
What is it? Is it a noun?
It's like demand is a noun. So this profession or this job is in demand. So people want it. People need it. And demanding actually means that someone is demanding. Like my English teacher was demanding, so she was asking a lot.
Yeah, I remember this word from negative context.
Yeah,
mostly.
Yeah, I'm saying I have a brain fog today.
We learned also my brain, something like brain farts or brain hiccup.
Yeah,
very funny words.
That I also have today, brain fart. Or like my students love saying it, like my brain is not braining today.
Wow, beautiful. So, and the last part, I wanted to ask you about imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have this syndrome in your profession, or you just was like, I will be a teacher, and you just your whole life you was learning this thing, and there is no room for imposter syndrome?
No, of course, there is also always a room. And I actually think that if you have imposter syndrome, sometimes it's quite useful because it makes you better. Because if you always think that you are 100% right, or if you're 100% doing everything perfectly and you have zero flaws, then it's bad for you. But I think it's quite good and useful if you sometimes hesitating, if you sometimes think that I'm not good enough, because it gives you room to try and do better. And I definitely have this part when, like we discussed with you before, that I have it when I make lessons and I'm thinking, okay, am I doing it like according to this, like, I don't know, task-based learning methodology, or do I do enough let's say drilling, or do I do enough independent work, or do I give them room to think? And you constantly like look at your exercises that you're making and your lesson plan. And you're like, okay, is it going to be helpful? Is it going to be helpful? Is it not boring? Because there are a lot of like factors you're trying to follow. And like for me, it's important that my lesson is entertaining, that people are not sleeping there and they're motivated somehow, and then they're helpful. So I'm trying to also, and I speak English most of the time. So how do I make it so that I speak English and they understand me and everything is working well? So you're hesitating sometimes, should I use this thing or not? And I think it's good to have, because if you're not hesitating, it means that you're not growing.
Yeah. Wow, it was quite a motivation talk, pep talk. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to my TED talk.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And also, I wanted to ask you, sorry for having you too long, but if you were asked to say one advice for English learners, what will it be?
Probably it's a very general thing, and it can be interpreted by a lot of people differently. So everyone will see in that advice what they want to see. But the general thing is that be open-minded, which means expose yourself to the world of the language that you're learning at the moment 100%. So take every chance that is possible. Talk to people and go out and start conversations and listen and watch to anything. Because I remember when I was learning Estonian, I watched and listened such crap that I wouldn't listen in my mother tongue, but it really helped me. I was listening to really stupid rap songs and watching really stupid YouTube videos, and I talked to anyone I could only meet. And I just saw it as a language practice. And like go and do sport in this language, like go and do yoga in Swedish. And yeah, just take whatever the world offers you. That the world is your oyster.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you very much. I really liked our conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I also liked it. And it's interesting to compare things that you faced in life, and especially what we had in our childhood and how it's different right now. I think for the generation that is growing up right now in Russia, they have more opportunities in learning language, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's it for our episode. Thank you very much to you, Anna, to listeners. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope we will meet again.
Yeah,
we'll
definitely
meet again. Do you know this song?
Yeah. I'll be back. Yeah, and you'll be back. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really useful and entertaining.
Yeah. So, bye bye.
Bye bye.